Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. Giving all praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Racha, Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone that rule well, labor in the word and doctrine, shalom, meaning peace, and to the elect. But this is inspired by, if you can probably hear it in the background, a whole heap of rain, man, falling down from the heavens. Now, before this time, talking about the flood, it was just the mist that came up to water the earth. The people had never seen rain before. This is how it used to do. Genesis 2 and 6. But there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. So that's how the plants, the shrubbery, the trees, whatever, the herbs, how they were able to get their water, their H2O, their nutrients, of that sort at least. But of course there's a flood. But the point is, there's not going to be a flood, at least of water, anymore to flood this earth. That doesn't mean there won't be a flood of fire with the waste to destroy, the numerous. Well, we'll get into that, Lord willing. But anyway, Genesis 9 and 8. And halalyam spake unto Noah, and to his sons with him, saying, And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you, and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And you notice how everything the covenant was made with was listed, right? When you get into Jeremiah 31, Hebrews 8, there's not Edomites, Elamites, Moabites, Ammonites. All of them are not listed as the children of Judah and the children of Israel, right? Yahawah, Yasharala. They just put that out there. There's many covenants. And Vocab and his associates may go to this and say, see, so that covenant was made with everyone. Alright, but there's different covenants. There's more than one covenant. Alright, verse Genesis 9 and 11. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. And halalyam said, This is the covenant, Salachi, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. Right, so that's the quote-unquote rainbow. Right, that's where you get that's where you get the rainbow. That's not where you get the term rainbow. It's where you get the rainbow. It's a reminder that the earth will not be flooded again in that same manner. Says not Romans, Genesis 9, Romans 9, Genesis 9 and 14. And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud, and I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between halalyam and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. It said, And halalyam said unto Noah, This is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. Now that doesn't mean the new covenant. No, we'll go into it quickly. Right, Jeremiah 31 and 31. And it reads, Behold, the days come, saith Yahawah, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Alright, so it doesn't say every living flesh, the beast, the cattle. It doesn't say all humankind. It doesn't say every son of Adam. It says verse 32, Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers. Alright, so their fathers, whose fathers? The Israelites' fathers. In the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith Yahawah. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith Yahawah. I will put my law in their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their power, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbour, and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahawah. For they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them. Of who? Of the Israelites. Saith Yahawah, for I'll forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. So there's different covenants. No, I said Genesis 9. No, I didn't. I said Romans 9, when I meant to say Genesis 9. And that in there it says the covenants that pertaineth to Israel. Now the fact is, there's not going to be another flood in that sense. But there will be the enemy coming in like a flood. And we know how that will end up. So where's that? Isaiah 59. Isaiah 59 and Psalm 19. So shall they fear the name of Yahawah from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, so it's not a flood, but it's like a flood. And what's a flood? You're overwhelmed with the sheer volume of whatever that thing is. So a flood of water. They were overwhelmed by the amount of water. They couldn't maintain any defense against it. And by carnal means, at least it had to be against spiritual intervention, that the Lord set up Noah and them that were saved with him. So it says, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of Yahawah shall lift up a standard against him. And that word for standard there is nawas. It means an escape. So there will be an escape for him. Who's him? The elect of the nation of Israel. It said, and the Redeemer shall come to Zion, and unto them that turn from transgression in Yaakov and Jacob, saith Yahawah. So it's them that turn and no longer sin. Now when that happens, Jacob's trouble, that's the time that the Lord will redeem his elect. And when that happens, they will be in the midst of fighting among themselves, but they will turn from fighting one another to begin to try and make war with the Lamb, or to make war with the Lamb, to try and win, but they shall utterly fail. Right, Revelation 17 and 14, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him, right, who are that the elect of the nation of Israel, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, which where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So again, it's not going to be a great flood of water, but it's going to be a great amount of quote-unquote waters, which are, like it says, peoples, multitudes, nations and tongues. And the whore is who? Babylon the Great, who the world knows as the United States of America, the divided states of Babylon. And it's going to be in a very, very low state, or estate, at this point. Revelation 17 and 16, and the 10 horns, which represent the EU nations, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Right, why? Because there's going to be nukes, right, nuclear missiles, and they're going to rain down. So, like I said, it's not going to be a flood or a flood of water, because it will be like a flood of fire. There's the similitude of a flood. Like it says, the enemy shall come in like a flood. Well, these will come in like a flood, but it will be a fire. And fire is what? A purification, a cleansing agent. Certain times if you have any, if you work in a laboratory, a lab, and not meaning heart or mind in Hebrew, but a lab, when you go into that, an inoculating loop, or the scalpel, they'll run it through a Bunsen burner. At least at my, what do you call it? I know what you call it. We call it a secondary school or a middle school or whatever. You might do a certain experiment, and to cleanse and make sure you got all the bacteria off it, you put it through the flame. Right, so the earth is going to be utterly cleansed by the way of this fire. we've got Isaiah 54, verse 16. It says, Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. And the waster, what's that? It's talking about a big bomb, a nuke, right? And again, that's going to bring a grand amount of fire, which again is a cleansing agent. So although the earth won't be flooded with fire, it'll be like a flood when although the earth won't be flooded with water, that was a slip of the tongue, it will be like it's being flooded when the great amount of fire, just ignore that. Alright, although the earth won't be flooded with water, it'll be like a flood when the fire hits. Forgive me for that. Alright, Isaiah 66 and 15. For behold, Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. Alright, so there will be fire. Notice that. Next verse. For by fire and by his sword will Yahawah plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahawah shall be many. So like the covenant that was made about the bow was made with all flesh, that the covenant for the Israelites wasn't made with all flesh. Well, this fire, it said the fire and the sword will come to plead. Now, I'm not plead, it doesn't mean, please. The valley of decision, the valley where it says he will plead, at least in, I think it's Joel, what was that, the 3rd chapter? You can hear that thunder in the background. And that should bring the terror of the Lord. He's in control of all the elements. It says, plead with them there. Joel 2 and 3, the word for plead there is shapat. Alright, and that's going into judgment, to judge. So it's not going to be a great begging. The Lord's not going to start begging people, plead. If I'm not mistaken, that word more than likely is shapat. But look it up. So it says Isaiah 66 and 16, for by fire and by his sword will Yahawah plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahawah shall be many. Right, so many of them, many peoples are going to die. Right, that's not something we're making up, but it's something that is being prophesied aforetime. And you'll say it's hate. Well, the Lord has a great judgment to carry out, and that's completely righteous. Shall the thing formed say to that which formed it, why hast thou made me thus? Verse 17, they that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse should be consumed together, saith Yahawah. And you got G-Man saying you can eat a mouse sandwich. A lot of these quote-unquote apologetics, or apologists rather, who are carrying out, doing apologetics, will say the law's done away with, it don't matter about the dietary law. Well, this is a future prophecy. So why would it matter if anyone's eating swine's flesh, abomination, mouse? Why would that matter? Because it's not done away with. Does that mean we can keep it perfectly in its entirety? But the point is, you have to strive. It's not done away. And it even says, Isaiah 2, Micah 4, that the law will go forth out of Zion. Now, why would the law go forth? Who you call Jesus, who we know as Yahawashi, why would he come back to save his people from their sins if the law's done away with and you can't even sin? That's confusion. Right, let's get this. Revelation 6 and 12. And I beheld, when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And that's right, Esau will be no match for the Lord. Oh no, it's gone. Esau will be no match for the Lord and the angels, and that's correct. It said The Lord's going to come back and bring fire and great fury. Well, who do you think is going to be doing that? The Lord and his angels. Okay? And the redeeming of the elect as well. The redeeming of the elect. I think I've read that. I'll read it again. Revelation 6:14. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it was rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And what is that? An untimely fig. If you ever seen a fig tree, and when the figs fall down, and they're shaped perfectly like torpedoes, and they smack the ground, and that's exactly the similitude of the missiles, which are going to unleash what? Fire, which is going to be it's going to be as a flood. Now, if I can find this, I know it's in, there it is. Isaiah 34, and yeah, we'll just go 4. And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their host shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. What does this say? Who may abide? Who may abide? Who can abide? Just search this up real quick. Who may abode? Who may house? There it is. Look at that. That's perfect as well. Right, Malachi chapter 3:2. But who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like fuller's soap. And who may abide? And we know that day it's talking about like the refiner's fire, because the day of the Lord, it's going to bring like a lot of fire, as we've been saying. So it's perfect. Then it's no coincidence that those notifications popped up. And really, it is coincidence means to happen at the same time. You know, people say, "Oh, it's a coincidence," meaning like, "Oh, it just happened at the same time." There's no spiritual significance of that. Well, actually, there is. So 2 Peter 3:10. But the day of Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. And like it said, well, we'll just keep reading. And the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Why? Because there's going to be a great multitude of fiery particles. Okay? The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. And what does fire do? It burns up. Either purifies or it burns up. Okay? You have things that can, if you have a furnace, certain ores you put in the fire, it will purify it. It'll make it, well, what can I say other than purer? So seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of Yahawah bahasham Yahawashi, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Why? Because there's going to be enough fire. And we'll get back into Isaiah 34. Isaiah 34:4. And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a fallen fig from the fig tree. And again, that's the same mirroring of Revelation 6. Verse 5, it says, For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. And it's going to go up. Specifically, these missiles are going to go up into the heavens before coming back down. So that's the ark for you flat earthers out there. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse, the judgment. So we'll leave it there. There's going to be a lot of fire. A lot of fire. And the title, we'll just get it verbatim. Genesis 9 and 11 is where it comes from. So it says, And I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood, neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth, neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. Giving all praises to Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, bahasham Rachak Wadash.